So what do you think of what the CBI is saying here? They're saying that they need this kind of flexibility in order to save their businesses. And indeed, we heard one employer, didn't we, in Cambridgeshire, saying just that.
Two things very quickly. First of all, I welcome the fact that they're now finally engaging the CBI about the reality that people voted to take back control, and that migration itself now will be controlled because we'll be leaving the European Union. That means essentially no longer having freedom of movement. So it's a good starting point. I wouldn't go down the road that they've gone. I think that the best thing you do is you work with what you've got and to make it work for everybody around the world. And that's why I published a paper on this. It's on my website, which is about work permit systems. You basically extend the work permit process across both to Europe and to the rest of the world. People can come here for work, but they need to have work to come to, and that work needs to have been agreed and accepted, that there isn't a person in the UK that could do that work that has the skills to do that.
But
and that's the way you control it.
What the CBI is saying is that they need much greater kind of flexibility, and they did talk to nearly 130,000 firms.
Yeah, well, greater flexibility is about demonstrating that you can't find somebody in the UK that is able to do that job. And that is really the point. There are two systems you use. The Migration Advisory Committee is able to assess that very quickly. But we also have within the job centres now the universal job match. And that tells you exactly in the travel to work areas how many people with what skills are available for people to work. So it's very quick and able to therefore figure out who needs it.
But the employers clearly don't think that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be arguing for a different form of system. Why aren't you listening to the voices from business?
Let's get to the bottom of really one of the problems. A lot of employers have simply not even bothered to try and find UK people at work. I mean, we had this when I was at the DWP. If you look at the figures right now, what's happened is the access to benefits, and including child benefits, etc., even if you don't have your children with you, have distorted the whole system around them being able to offer much cheaper wages and have it completely topped up. In the last year, for figures were available. It's really important. This over £4.1 billion was spent on people from the European Union who had come over here in tax credits, child benefits, housing benefit, etc. And that is one of the great pull factors. So leaving the European Union, we should not be offering people to come over here just looking for work and to claim benefits.
Well, you make a point about claiming benefits, but
they should be paying a living wage that does not require people to come over and claim benefits to top that up.
But some government work has looked into this issue about the kind of money that people are receiving in benefits, and they say that this is a report from HMRC that tax people. They're saying that foreign nationals pay more in income taxes and national insurance contributions than they receive in tax credits and child benefits.
Not true. Now, here's the figures. The figures even released by HMRC show that of all those countries where people come over to take work, those countries from the accession group pay less in tax than the average UK citizen and claim more in benefits. Those figures are their own figures. And as I come back to the same point, £4 billion in the last year in which figures were available was paid out in welfare payments. So first of all, we have to get this distortion right. I think the work permit system, it will work, but I think the CBI's registration system is too complicated.
And finally, I did want to ask you on another subject while we're talking to you, and this is about Boris Johnson. Do you think that the Conservative Party chairman, Brandon Lewis, was right to say that there should be a disciplinary procedure against Boris Johnson?
Well, I was surprised when I heard that, because I read what Boris Johnson wrote, and I'm afraid to say I don't agree. I don't agree that there was anything particularly wrong with what he said. You may not agree with the tone or the jokes, but we have a thing called freedom of speech in this country, and I don't believe that just because somebody takes offence, that means that therefore there has to be an inquiry as to whether or not the individual can be shut down in terms of their ability to say what they believe. He after all, was defending the government's position because we are not going to ban burqas. We believe in people being having the right to
but the way he phrased it did cause a certain amount of offence, didn't it?
Well, we live in a world and a land that has freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of worship, and freedom of choice. And if you want to uphold those, there will always be some that will take offence. But
Are you saying that Brandon Lewis overreacted then?
Well, my general view is I don't think that a internal party system should be there to shut down MPs when they speak. I have to say, you don't always have to agree with what people say, but we do defend the right of people saying it. And there, lots of people of different religions have had abusive things said in jokes by comedians, but we don't immediately shut those people down because we take offence. The reality here is that what he said and what he did was supporting the government position, and I have to say that I do hope that we will put an end to this. After all, what is the real issue? The real issue here is that other countries have banned the burqa. He didn't argue for that. We don't want that. We believe in freedom of choice, but we also believe in freedom of speech.
And what do you make of Rowan Atkinson's intervention, writing a letter to the Times today in support of Boris Johnson?
I rather agreed with what he said, which is, there has to be give and take and tolerance on both sides. The fact is that you can believe in freedom of choice about people wearing burqas, but you can also disapprove of what they are. After all, if you believe strongly in equality for women, you may take a very different view about the wearing of them. Most Muslim women don't wear them, and as I understand it, that is their choice, and that's what I uphold, their choice.
Iain Duncan Smith, thank you.